Hi folks, you might be aware, if not, I've been looking at this type of light with the central spotlight lens arrangement in the middle and then the outer ring of LEDs that gives us like a flood and a throwy type beam in one light. And I was looking at 4, so we've got the Fenix 40RE, the Marauder at the back there, a Sofern IF30 and a Marauder Mini. And there's quite a considerable difference in size in between the kind of the larger versions and the smaller, for want of a better description. What we have got though, or what I've got, or added to the collection, is the Wurkkos, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, TS32, and it's kind of falling somewhere in the middle. Nowhere near as big as the Fenix, or indeed the Marauder, but not as small as the Marauder Mini, but we're kind of getting down to that size, aren't we? So it's kind of sitting somewhere in the middle-ish there, isn't it? Let me just get rid of those 4 at the back. So right from the get-go, let's just have a look at what type of performance we're going to get. On the turbo, the spotlight 2000 lumens, high 900, mid 350, low 100, eco 10. On the flood, 12,000. On the turbo, 3,500 high, 1,000 mid, 350 low, and 50 on eco. The runtimes there we can see. Let's get rid of that. In the box we've got the manual, obviously, USB-C charging, that's fast USB-C as well, and some spare O-rings. Let's shift those out of the way and have a quick look at the light itself. So we mentioned there the USB-C charging, and we're powered by 3 21700 batteries. I've got the Wurkkos ones there. Comes with the flat tops. It will work off flat or button top by the use of this little contraption here that, as we can see, if you just pop it on top there, you can't get it wrong, it kind of fits into place, and that's going to make a connection for us on our button top batteries and make a connection in there. The light will run from 1, 2 or 3 batteries, and I've checked it with a variety of batteries. Flat top, subject to using that little contraption I've shown you, and button top work equally well. As we can see as well, we've got a carrying handle there if you want it. If you don't want it, it comes off quite easily there with that screw. One thing worth noting when you are using the carry handle, it's not easy to reach the buttons. You're going to have to use your other hand, or of course you can just use it as you would any other light and get rid of the handle altogether. I'll show you some information on the web page about this light in a moment, but a couple of points that really did stand out to me. It's always the non-obvious, isn't it, initially? And the first one was the UI. It is really, really simple. And we've either got the stepped or the seamless. And both of these lenses, there's a memory mode, as you can see there. I've obviously had that on high to start off with. So one click on, one click off. Hold to cycle through your modes. The exception to the one click off is double click for for turbo. One click takes us back to where we were. One click off, and I do really like that principle of a double click to turbo, one click takes us back to where we were, and the same applies on the spot beam with the double click to the turbo, one click back to where we were. And you can have both, and you can change the levels of both, and when it's stepped at the moment, so we're going up to high, not including turbo. And the same with that one. I can flick through. We can double click for turbo on either or. And again, the single click takes either or off back to where they were. So there's absolute maximum flexibility with your desired output and the output of either or. I suppose even better, or additional, when the light's in the on position, 4 clicks. Now we've changed modes. Now we're into our seamless mode. What we can do, it's the same principle as before, 1 click on and a 1 click off. It does have, same as before, a memory mode. And now we can ramp all the way up to its minimum, back down to its maximum. And as you can see, it's quite a fast ramp, and then with a little flicker there once we reach the top. What we can also do, let's pick a lower level, same principle as before. In the stepped mode, a double click takes us to turbo, 1 click takes us back to where we were. And we have the same functions on the spot. Again, with a pretty fast ramp on there. Double click for the turbo, 1 click back to where we were, and 1 click off. I don't think I mentioned, did I, just a few minutes ago, that you can actually have both on, and you can independently change both and have them wherever you want. But the difference now with the seamless, if you remember when we were in the stepped would take us up to high, and we could have one or the other or both up to high, and then we could have one or the other or both on turbo. Now once we're into the seamless ramping, we can go all the way up to and including them through high and have it whatever we want on either or both. So you've really got a huge degree of flexibility. The other thing that I particularly liked about the light was its turbo and high performance. And what I found was that in its turbo mode, on the flood setting, it held its turbo consistently and very, very well for 1.5 minutes, thereabouts. And then not a gradual. Some of these lights you find the moment you turn the turbo on, they'll kind of start to slowly back away. The TS32 doesn't do that. You engage turbo, it'll hold the turbo for, well, for me, 1.5 minutes. That will vary depending on where you're using the light. And then there was an abrupt step down once the temperature regulation kicked in and took us straight down to high. The second thing about it then is the high mode. It didn't step down at all after that. So the high mode can be maintained for as long as your battery lasts. I was really, really impressed with that. And those two things put together, in terms of the maximum flexibility and how I'm going to operate my flood or my spot, that's with the ramped and the seamless, as well as the performance of the turbo and the high modes. So it's really put this light at the top of my list in terms of my personal preference and how I like to see a light operate. Let's have a look at the web page and see what else we can find out. Having a look at the TS32 now on the web page, the first thing that jumps out at you, the price, $88 bar 1 cent, 30% off at the moment, was $125. At $125 for this type of light, you would be expecting some type of compromise, and I just haven't seen it. As we look at just a couple of the other bits of the spec a bit further down on this page, along with what I've explained and what we'll be having a look at outside, I'm just not seeing where the budget cost is coming from, I would have expected to pay considerably more for this light. And in particular, looking here, we can even choose which LEDs that we want on our flood mode. And if you don't know too much about the LEDs, what Wurkkos have gone for here is a choice on the CRI, and that stands for colour render indexing, and that is to do with how natural is the light that is being produced by the LED. So you know, when you're in the dentist and you've got that horrible white light bouncing off the ceiling, it's really unpleasant on the eyes. That would be a low CRI. But what you do find is that the higher the CRI, and as you can see here, 75, 90 to 95, the higher the CRI, a little bit less on the output as a general rule of thumb. So we can have 14,000 lumens, 12,000 or 11,000, depending on which one of these LEDs you go for, and what you're compromising with there is the colour rendering index. I prefer the higher CRI, it's just a matter of personal choice, hence I went for the 519s. You could go the middle of the road if you want with the LH351, or just go for the extra 3,000 lumens and go for the XPLs. So, did I miss anything when I was talking us through it? I don't think I did. I didn't mention the aerospace grade aluminium, did we? That is mentioned here. Toughened mineral grass, IP68, memory mode, yes, we did touch on that. I didn't mention the reverse battery polarity protection, and I did mention the ATR, and tucked right down at the very, very bottom, we've got built-in low voltage protection. So let's take the light out and have a look and see what it can do. Hi folks, I'm out with the Wurkkos, if I've pronounced that correctly, and let's start off with its high mode. And I'm starting at high, so hopefully you can get the same impression as me about that lovely even blanket of light, high CRI. Really, really do like it, and I hope the camera's showing you that properly. And then if we really want it, he says, let's go for our turbo mode. And that is just immense. No need to put a picture of where I am here, is there? And back down to our high mode. Now remember, on the high mode, we can sit and use this level all night long, so long as the batteries will last. I wasn't seeing any step down. Let me turn off, go to our spot mode, cycle through our modes. It's not particularly challenging at this place, no great distance on it, but you can see there's some nice spill on there. I can get a little bit into the distance over there, and then up to turbo if you feel you need it, and you can have both. I'm a touch further on now, folks, and cycle through our modes up to high. See, this type of spot here really does favour these floody type lights, but not getting down into the distance. For the distance, we'll have to jump over to the spot mode, he says. And again, let's cycle through, and then we are getting down into the depths of that path there. And then of course turbo. And that is just immense. I'm not moving the light, just moving the camera around. A good 1.5 minutes as well on turbo, if I didn't mention that already. And it'll hold the turbo for that 1.5 minutes pretty consistently, subject to where you're using it. I mean, if you're in the desert, you're probably not going to get that much. but there isn't a gradual step down. It really does hold that power. Then about the 1.5 minute mode, we drop down to the high mode, and then, as mentioned previously, the high mode, we can run all night long and play around with the spot as well, and you can adjust both at the same time to have the spot to wherever you want. Turn the spot back on, and we can turn and adjust the flood as well, and the UI is really easy. We're starting to warm up now, and I don't want to spoil my turbo run times for the next spot, so I'll turn off now and move along and catch you in a moment. So a little bit further on, folks, let me put a picture where I am, and then scroll through our modes up to high. Pretty decent. And then wham, turbo, look at that. All the way down the side of this lake, and let's have a look around this side. That is a really pleasant, in fact one of the most pleasant blankets of floody light I've seen in a long while. And back down to high again, and off, and then on with our spot mode, cycling through down the side of this lake, making the distance very easily, again on its high mode, not turbo. Nearly had the tripod over there. Back the other way again, and then turbo all the way to the other side of that lake, no problem. And then back down to high. Try both. High on both, and as mentioned, we can cycle through. And have wherever we want. You'll be playing around with that all night till you find the sweet spot for you. So a quick look the other way and do the same. And then turbo on both. It's going to get nice and warm for us. Doing this too often. Speaking of which, let me turn it off. Just waffling on just a second longer there. When I was using both the flood on the spot and setting it low, medium, high, you know, wherever I wanted it, if you go into your ramping mode, seamless ramping mode, which is 4 clicks, the same applies. So now I can go all the way up to turbo and all the way back down again, and it's a really fast ramp. Likewise, I can do the same with the spot. So now not only do we have your stepped up to your 3000 odd, we can go seamless till we're really pushing the light. As I was saying, really pleasant and easy to use, and if you're like me, you'll be tinkering around with these different power settings, including when you move to the seamless ramping and take it all the way up to turbo to both. But I think I'll keep it at this setting here on the normal stepped for both. Just a matter of opinion, of course. And then if we want turbo, we can kind of blab that whenever we want, can't we? And then one click takes us back to where we were. And when you do send the light into a little bit of an overheating situation, which, as you can imagine, I've been doing all evening, you can drop down to this high mode and be sensible, he says, like me, not, and use this more moderate level until you're blue in the face. One last look the other way. Turbo. Back to where we were. Both. What was I saying there about being sensible? So if there's anybody around here tonight, they will certainly know I'm here. It's been a while as well, you know, folks, just to digress slightly, since I've found a light that I've really enjoyed using. But this one's going straight to the top of the list. For me, the UI is perfect. I can use both flood and spot. I can go stepped or I can go seamless ramping. The turbo performance is really good. It holds that turbo for the good minute and a half, and I can hold the high indefinitely, and the high CRI. In fact, you're probably getting the hint here, aren't you, with how long I'm mucking around with it for. It's been a really fun light for me to review this one as. Really recommend it. Catch you soon, folks. Let's see what we get runtime wise on the turbo mode. The room temperature 17, the light temperature 19. Just approaching 1 minute in. 470 we started at, didn't we? We're only 450ish now. 36, 41. Let's leave it going. So what were we there? About 1 minute 30. We hit our temperature about 1 minute 30 then, wasn't it? Something thereabouts. And then as we can see there, quite a significant step down at that point. Let it cool off and I'll try it on high mode next. Let's try our high mode, starting off at 21. What have we got on the lux meter? 111. So when we saw the step down when it was on turbo mode, it had dropped itself down to high, hadn't it? Let's see how long this lasts. And what we'll find, folks, on this high setting, what was that roughly? 3,500 lumens. It's just going to run and run and run, and as you can see, it's not getting particularly hot at all. What are we now? 5.5 minutes in.